In this review of the week's news, a young man plans to take his mum around the world, an experience she won't forget. Staffing levels are improving dramatically at Canterbury hospitals, and the Catholic Cathedral can be saved, but how much of it? This is CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. It's a condition which causes serious mental decline and anguish for the loved ones affected by dementia. But a young filmmaker has an innovative plan to help his mother remember as much as she can before her condition gets worse. It's been a hard road for Adam and his family, an ever more common disease taking hold and something that changed their lives forever. Doctors diagnosed Sue with early onset Alzheimer's, aged 55.
I can't do anything, I'm just sort of stuck in this wee box.
She raised me and my brother.
Now Adam Robinson, the youngest sibling, is asking for help from the public. He started up a Give a Little page to make Sue's dream a reality, to travel the world.
I guess it was something that we decided together, had input from a few friends and family, and they decided, or, told us that we should start a page. I was looking at doing a fundraiser anyway, and I just needed a platform to do it, and Give a Little seemed to be the right one to use. So
he posted a video and set up the page, Suzies World Tour, hoping to raise $20,000 for the trip. And 1 week later, over $1,400 has already been raised, with one generous and anonymous Kiwi giving a kind donation of $1,000. Sue has always wanted to travel, but never had the time, raising 2 children as a solo mum. In August last year, they received the terrible news, and Adam says it's helped bring some closure, with doctors initially thinking she was suffering from depression.
To be honest, for me, it was almost a sigh of relief at the same time as being in shock. Just finally getting some resolution and a diagnosis was amazing for us, because we could then learn how to manage it and how to work with it. Coming to the realisation that, someone you love and care about, you're not going to be spending forever with them like you thought you were.
She has been living with the disease for almost a year now, but the news is still raw for her, something she hasn't forgotten.
I'm going to cry already. It was like a death sentence for me, yeah. There's so many things I can't do that I could, for a long time I could do.
But Sue gets on with her day the best she can. She stays at home most of the time because she can't drive anywhere. She'll watch TV and do the everyday chores around the home, good as gold. She's even able to go out for a walk.
Well, I've always got to be looked after now and all that sort of thing, and it's just horrible. And all my life I've been out there and helping everybody else. But I can't really do that now.
Not only has the family been working to take in this news, it follows a line of other losses in the family.
She lost her brother to a car accident, her sister to cancer, her other brother to an epileptic fit episode, and her mother to cancer. And out of the whole family, there's just mum and granddad left.
Adam is Sue's primary caregiver. He works a full-time job and his girlfriend helps out too. She also studies and works. And he says it has been difficult.
You just step into the role, you don't think twice about it. It's something that you have to do, but it definitely it takes its toll, on your social life, your personal life, your business life. Like every aspect of your life is impacted by it.
The statistics aren't looking good either. Last year, around 57,000 New Zealanders were diagnosed with dementia. By 2050, that number is expected to increase by 100,000. And in Canterbury, the estimated number is close to 6,000. The sad news is there's not a sense of hope at this stage to tackle this deadly disease.
There is currently no cure for dementia, no.
However, Daryl has some advice for people to help reduce the chance of getting dementia and even Alzheimer's.
So keeping your brain active, keeping stimulated, making your brain puff, making it work more than just doing the crossword is really important for maintaining good brain health. good heart health, so the exercise and diet are really important. In terms of brain stimulation, pushing yourself outside your normal comfort zone. So learning a new language, learning a new dance, learning a new piece of music, doing things that really make you have to think hard.
And Sue has pushed herself outside her comfort zone. She went and saw Ed Sheeran earlier this year and got the VIP treatment and a signed CD as well. And now she's planning for an adventure of a lifetime, something she's always wanted to do.
Originally it was just Europe, but there are a lot of things in America. My partner is from America, and after talking with her, there's a lot of places that Mum would love to go, and she'd love to see the Statue of Liberty and visit Times Square in New York and see all those.
Eiffel Tower.
Yeah.
They hope to travel for a month and record the whole trip.
The idea of videoing the whole thing, so if we miss a moment, we can always relive that again, and that's I think that's the key to the whole thing, is that Mum's going to have these memories because I'm going to video the entire trip, so she'll have that for the rest of her life, to always look back on and relive all those moments.
Daryl says there needs to be more awareness and continued support for people living with Alzheimer's, but Adam hopes he can do the same and see him and his mum jetting off sometime next year. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. It may cost nearly twice as much to build than thought, and with numerous delays, the planned Christchurch Convention Centre now stands to lose business as well. It's been a debate in the council chamber recently through the draft long-term plan hearings. Does the city need a new stadium, the Metro Sports Centre and the controversial Convention Centre? The Central City project sits vacant for the time being, with the project continuing to be pushed back. And at the opening of another anchor project, the Minister for Earthquake Recovery was questioned on the facility's future, saying the recent price blowout is nothing unusual.
In the last 2 years, there has been some price escalation. You'd expect that.
Back in 2013, when the cost-sharing agreement was signed by the previous council, the government said they would commit around $284 million to construct the convention centre and to purchase the land. But it's understood that number has skyrocketed to around $420 million. However, Minister Brownlee finds the new price tag interesting.
People are bandying numbers around all over the place, so that's interesting. But what we really have to do is get a design and a construction that's going to fit the city well for many, many decades ahead.
The Convention Centre precinct is set to house this site, but there's a possibility the facility could reduce in size to help with the cost blowout, meaning the design would have to go back to the drawing board.
In the end, we've got to get the design before we know exactly what that cost is and what the escalations over that estimate are.
So what's your preference out of those two options?
My preference is to get an asset for the city that works for generations to come.
And it'll feature other commercial buildings on the site, something the Minister says is important to note.
Well, there are many, many ways that you can do these things, and there's a lot of land there that the government owns that is for ancillary purposes, so we would expect hotels to be on that site as well, some commercial, some retail. It's not a simple, straightforward matter of building a concrete box and declaring it a convention centre.
In January this year, Christchurch had won the rights to host two major international conferences, which would see over 1,000 delegates come to the city, injecting around $3 million into the local economy. But one of the events, the International Conference on Computers in Education, was due to kick off in November 2017, but that may not happen and is likely to be put on hold, with the completion date of the centre now being pushed to 2018. However, the Minister says the convention centre would be a great asset for the city.
I think Christchurch needs a convention centre that is on a size, you'd say a step down or two from the Auckland Convention. What this country needs, frankly, is a solid network of convention centres of varying sizes so that we can continue to attract some of that big international convention centre business.
It's a waiting game now to see what is likely to happen next, with the site remaining bare in the meantime. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. Still to come, FIFA footballers arrive in Christchurch. Welcome back. It had been a real concern for the Canterbury District Health Board. An ageing workforce meant more health professionals were needed and fast. But thankfully, things are beginning to look up. There's been a lot of changes in the sector over the last few years, including the increasing number of staff through the region's health board. Earlier this month, Health Minister Jonathan Coleman released figures showing a dramatic increase in staff, both doctors and nurses working for the CDHB. And the nursing manager for the Canterbury District Health Board says it's due to some dramatic changes.
We knew that if we continued delivering healthcare the way we are currently delivering it, we would need another major hospital the size of Christchurch Hospital. So we knew we couldn't continue to do that. It was not the best use of our resources, and so we began planning quite distinctly what we can do.
Currently, there are around 930 doctors and close to 3,000 nurses. That's nearly triple the amount of employees since 2008. Before the earthquakes, the Health Board identified an ageing staffing crisis throughout both primary and secondary healthcare facilities.
Over the age of 45 plus, we have 60% of our workforce, so that's quite a scary figure when you think about long-term planning. So we've been consciously having major discussions with our workforce around that.
She says very few of the new staff coming in are arriving from overseas, with the focus being right here in Canterbury, increasing the number of graduates entering into healthcare.
We've been working very hard around looking at our workforce needs. As early as 2003, for instance, we had a new graduate program, and it was part of a pilot of 3 national programs that took place, which ended up leading a nationwide NetP program.
The Health Board had to adopt a new plan immediately after the earthquakes, something that was being prepared for a long-term arrival of 2020. And she says it's becoming easier to get new staff coming through.
And that's actually now being driven by the workforce itself. So they're coming to me now with graduates and saying, can we take one? Which has really changed around. Before, when I first started in the role, it was a little bit more difficult to get grads in place there. They were really looking for senior staff, but now they're making a conscious effort and driving the need themselves.
The first building of the new health precinct is currently underway, with plans finalised and construction due to start later on this year, with more expected in the future. The precinct will take up 4 blocks in the central city between St Asaph and Montreal Streets, Hackley Avenue and Oxford Terrace. And Hickmont says it'll have great benefits for the Canterbury region.
We've got together and been able to think about what we want for the future of Christchurch. And so what it is putting health, research, education, simulation all into one area or in one plan in place. And hopefully we will drive research excellence so it'll become a very attractive place in the future for people to come and live and work and learn. Because we had done all this fantastic planning, some of the things that were planned in 2020 actually were put in place in 2011, and we just rolled those out immediately and made those changes, and that's consequently where you can see quite a significant growth in our workforce as well.
But this is just the start in a long line of work for the CDHB, but she's confident with the future plans.
We've got still a significant amount of work more to go into the integration side of things and to build our population of nurses. We're shifting a lot of resources out into the community and primary areas. So I think that the one area for us that we want to really concentrate our efforts now on is how can we even further build up the numbers within the community areas and begin to really shift those resources to those areas where healthcare is now being delivered.
The growth continues in Canterbury with a bright future ahead for the local health sector. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. It's the second largest sporting event to hit Christchurch since the earthquakes. And this week, the first FIFA Under20s team flew into town. Chelsea Daniels went down to talk to them.
Germany's Under20 team arrived in Christchurch today as the country gears up for the FIFA Under20s World Cup. The tournament kicks off on Saturday and runs for 3 weeks. 24 teams from around the globe will compete in 7 cities around New Zealand, including Christchurch. Germany last won the FIFA Under20 World Cup in 1981, and it seems the boys are confident about their squad's chances in this year's tournament.
We are the European champions, so many people, I think they will expect something from us, so we want to show what we have.
The competition acts as a showcase of new and upcoming players, following the footsteps of such football greats as Messi, Maradona and Ronaldinho, who have all previously impressed crowds at the tournament. Christchurch councillor Janni Johansson said he's excited about continuing the city's proud tradition of hosting sporting events.
Yeah, I think we're really fortunate as a city to have the German team in Christchurch, but we've got a number of really good teams as part of our pool, so it's great. This is, the start of the FIFA Under20 World Cup, and we're really lucky as a city to be able to host such an amazing event with such amazing teams.
The playing fields at Ferrymead, Garrick, Avonhead and Linfield Park have all been upgraded to deliver world-class training facilities for the participating teams and will become one of the lasting legacies from the event.
The training fields that we've invested in as a city in partnership with the local football clubs, with FIFA and with mainland football, those are going to be legacy fields that are well used long after this tournament ends.
A local kapa haka group welcomed the young players this morning, and team captain Kevin Akpouma was impressed with the traditional Maori dance.
The welcome was nice. I saw it that time in a YouTube channel with the rugby players. I think it was similar like that, so it was nice.
So, what's first on the boys' agenda now that they're in Christchurch?
First of all, we want to sleep. I think want to relax because we had 24 hours now flying, and then we'll train a bit, and then maybe after the first or the second match we're going out, watching here what's going on here.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
What does the 2015 budget mean to Canterbury? Well, it depends on who you are, with Finance Minister Bill English coming to town to explain.
It's been touted by many as not doing much for business and robbing Peter to pay Paul for those who need support the most. And today, Finance Minister Bill English visited Christchurch, doing the rounds to espouse its benefits. Local job growth was his focus.
There's quite strong job growth over the last 3 or 4 years and projected over the next 3 or 4 years. What the main complaint we get from small business is that people who have been on a benefit aren't work ready. And so we will be working more closely with businesses to ensure that people coming off welfare are a bit more work ready, and also to help sustain them in jobs.
The budget's effect on Canterbury's population is broadly not dissimilar to the rest of New Zealand, though with a few differences. Earthquake recovery got another hand up, with $27 million more being injected into Sarah's coffers, rising to $107.8 million over the next 4 years. These funds will go into land clearances to make way for anchor projects in preparation of land before construction begins. But 4 years on from the quakes, given cost-sharing disagreements, cost blowouts and lengthy delays, many are arguing the need for the anchor projects at all. The government expects to have contributed more than $16 billion by 2019 to the $40 billion needed for the rebuild.
Still to come, the Catholic Cathedral still has hope of survival. Welcome back. It's back again for the first time since the earthquakes. After being a leader in recycling practices, students returned this week to learn from the city's Living Earth program. Chelsea Daniels explains.
With post-earthquake repairs at the plant completed, the next generation of organics experts visited Living Earth this week. For the first time since the 2011 earthquakes, Living Earth is able to engage with students through its schools program.
Well, look, it's great to get it back. After the earthquakes, we had to rebuild a lot of our tunnels, so the program was stopped. Prior to the earthquakes, we were doing about 50 schools a year through here. There's been a lot of interest. I'm sure we'll have that number come back through. All the staff on site love to do it. There's always a lot of participation and engagement when the children are here and setting up, and it's all about education, both for the City Council and Living Earth.
This week, the plant saw Year 4 students from Summerfield School learn all about organic matter and how the compost process works. Living Earth hopes to educate and excite young people so they can educate their families when they get home.
We can educate every child, which is another household, and it's all about ensuring that they know what can go into the composting bin, but more importantly for us as the people who have to process it, what we don't want to see in that. 46,000 tonnes of curbside waste is collected from Christchurch homes each year. The 3-month process then turns the trash into treasure. 20,000 tonnes of compost treasure, that is. That saves Christchurch ratepayers around $5 million a year by avoiding landfill.
The Christchurch Compost Company is leading the way in green waste management on a worldwide scale. With world-class facilities, Living Earth boasts the most successful household green waste management program in Australasia.
What the Christchurch City Council have done here is world class. Now, I actually feel quite privileged to operate a facility like this. What we're seeing here is a plant that you won't see in New Zealand or even Australia, I don't believe. We'd have to go to Europe to see something as good as this.
The kids got to get their hands dirty and experience the process more than what they would in their classrooms. So, did the kids have fun today on their compost adventure?
I think it's really good and helpful for the environment.
And what shouldn't be placed in the green bins?
Measles, silly dad's beer bottle, dad's beer bottle, and mum's wine bottle.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
After nearly 4.5 years since the Canterbury earthquakes, the Catholic Cathedral is getting a new lease on life with plans to save some of the historic structure. The plans were unveiled this morning, the Catholic Cathedral being given a lifeline. The church are committing up to $45 million to save the nave, the central part of the church on Barbados Street. And the bishop is pleased with the decision.
Absolutely delighted, because it's been a looming prospect for some years, you know, what's going to happen, and everything seemed a bit hopeless.
The cathedral has sat broken and out of bounds since the February quake over 4 years ago, but now an application has been made to SERA under a Section 38 to deconstruct and demolish areas around the nave and to fully investigate the ground underneath.
For Section 38 is just to apply for demolition, so as I say, that will cost us $2 million, and we may apply to get some help outside for that because we're trying to actually save an historic building.
After a numerous amount of reports given to the board, everything linked to the same outcome, to demolish and rebuild. To restore the whole church would have cost over 3 times more than what's currently budgeted.
This is why we resigned ourselves to say that we have to focus on the nave, because the rest is simply too badly damaged to salvage.
But now the focus is on whatever they can save, saying they'll give it their best.
The beauty in this cathedral is in the nave, the interior of the nave. Forget about initially the bell towers and the sacristy. The Mackley said that can be done at any stage in the future. It's retaining the area inside where all the beauty is.
We'll know for certain that whether or not anything can be saved. This is just opening a door into the possibility of saving the nave.
The cathedral is listed under the Category 1 section of Heritage New Zealand. That's the highest of ratings, and has been recognised as one of the finest buildings in Australasia. And Ryan says the advice was to save the main area inside, the rest can be dealt with later.
So I've been in a couple of times, and once when the crane lowered in, it is a very eerie feeling when you see things that have cracked and the size of the cracks. When you see rubble sitting next, then you see next door to that a perfectly formed pillar with no damage on it. So it is an intriguing sort of thing.
It's a start for the Catholic community of Christchurch, with many other repairs and rebuilds needed for their other facilities. Much of the city's heritage has disappeared after the quakes. The Christchurch Cathedral sits broken, with controversial discussions continuing. But when asked about the church in the central city, Ryan wished them all the best. And as for Bishop Jones,
I can't comment on that, don't know.
But he hopes Canterbury is happy with their decision.
Well, I hope they'll be thrilled as we are, as I say, that here's a building in Christchurch that's stood. Everyone talks about how the beauty of this particular cathedral, and so for the people of Christchurch, we're hoping that we can actually save it, and it's a project they can watch and help grow in the next, say, 3 or 4 years.
All going well, the nave will be restored, and the rest of the church will be fixed over time, hoping to stand proudly once again, like it did before the quakes. Jared McCulloch, CTV News. And that's CTV News Week in Review. I'm Jared McCulloch. Have a great weekend.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.